Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Select Board meeting is called May 19th, 2025 at 6 p.m. Executive session per MRSA 1 subsection 405-6E for consultation with town attorney to discuss legal rights and duties. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
As a first, and a second, all in favor? Okay. We'll be back shortly.
motion to come out, don't we? Yeah.
I'm going to pledge allegiance first. All right, you're on. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The board was in executive session. I need a motion to come out.
So moved.
Second.
The first and second, all in favor? Would everyone join me in Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. Item number 4, consideration of a renewal liquor license for the Tides Beach Club, LLC, 930 Kings Highway. This is a continuation of the liquor license application for the beach club. And at the last meeting, it was brought up to the board's attention, there was allegations for non-conformance of the beach and the expanding the non-conforming use. Galen was asked to come and before the board and make a comment to see if he had heard those allegations, and he said he had, and that he was actually looking into them. Then the board asked Galen if he would go ahead and come back and report to us after some of the findings that he had found out, and I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Galen.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So at your May 8th meeting, I made a mention that we've received public comments and complaints regarding the Tides Beach Club and their nonconforming status, as well as other outstanding violations of the land use ordinance. We take these complaints seriously, and so we did a thorough investigation with the Code Enforcement Office as well as the town planner to go over these complaints that were received. And so we did provide a summary findings for you of a notice of violation of the land use ordinance. Specifically, I'd like to go over a little bit of what those violations are so that you're well aware of what's entailed in these violations. One is the first count of violation was for expanding of a non-conforming use. So we saw that there was more floor and ground area that was dedicated towards dining space that was not previously there, as was grandfathered in 1972 when the Tides Beach, the Tides by the Sea was in operation at that time. We noticed that there was a change in character of a non-conforming use. That was, again, a change in what was originally there, as well as there was new activity that we noticed on the front lot of the property with dining service and drink service that was not offered in the past. We noticed the third violation was a performance standard violation. So this was specifically in 2011 where the Tides has changed ownership, and instead the leach field was removed near the back parking space area. When that occurred, the parking was expanded over top of where the old leach field was, and your performance standard in the land use ordinance stipulates that no more than a quarter of the lot can be covered with parking, driveway, and building space. The next violation was prohibited outdoor commercial recreational use. We've received complaints from multiple residents and screenshots of the Tides website that clearly stated that Hidden Pond guest as well as Tides guest paid a resort fee to access a 2-hour kayaking session on Goose Rocks Beach. We determined that that was an outdoor commercial recreational use on that front portion of Goose Rocks Beach, and that is a non-conforming use. It's not allowed. It's prohibited in that area, and they did not seek authorization from the planning board to have that recreational use. The fifth violation was a shoreland zoning violation. So again, when activity occurred in 2011-2012, there was a change in the driveway the pathway configuration that is in the front lawn area. And with that, there was an expansion in the impervious surface that's within the shoreland zone. Item 6 for a violation was inadequate parking. So again, that was an expansion that should have went to the planning board. And they do not have enough parking with the increase in the dining space, interior and exterior of the property, the structure. They do not have the adequate needed for one parking space for every 3 seats. And then finally, there was a violation of the beach use agreement within the 25-foot strip section, and so that was outlined also as a violation. So with that being said, that's a summary of the report that we are submitting to you. Certainly, if the board has any questions of clarification that you would like from the Code Enforcement Office, I'm more than happy to assist at this time. So,
Do you have any questions?
I've read it, Galen. I think it was an excellent piece of work, and thank you very much for that.
Yep, thank you. I've read it also. I have no other follow-up questions for Galen or the code.
And I did read it. It's very detailed. I'm not going to get into the questions that I do have. I think that there may be some inconsistencies in it.
I just want to read, are you finished? I just want to read something. Non-compliance of licensed premises or its use with any local zoning ordinance or land use ordinance not directly related to liquor control. So, and that's why the board wanted to hear from the Code Enforcement Office regarding the compliance of the Tides Beach with town ordinances.
And what you just quoted, Alan, was findings for the to-go license, for having a liquor to-go license. Is that correct? Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
So, Emily, would you like to make any comments? No.
I might like to make a comment after your decision is made.
Oh, okay. Anybody in the public? Is there anybody that want to ask any questions or make a comment or anything?
You just specifically said that I'm Sean Smith, Oak Ridge Road, that the license is specifically for the to-go portion. The violation is directly to the to-go portion. Is that what you just said?
No, that's
No.
not what I said.
No, Mr. Dykstra said. He just said that this is in relation to the to-go portion of the license.
No.
Yeah, so just to clarify, that is state statute title 28A, section 653. That is what was read, and that is the findings for municipal officers on all liquor licenses.
And the ordinance violations are one possible reason to deny a liquor license, correct? It doesn't mandate if there's an ordinance violation that you should deny a liquor license? I'm just asking
No,
for
that is correct.
clarification.
That's correct.
That's correct.
So at this point, the board could use discretion, since none of these ordinance violations seem to directly go against the liquor license that the Tides has. Because if I did some research looking through the agendas for the Board of Selectmen for the past several years, back to 2020. And pretty much every single liquor license renewal that I saw for the KRC, they all clicked off that they had no violations related to the liquor license. No reports of any police activity for liquor licenses or anything else. And the thing that concerns me here is on the 24th, April 24th agenda that the town put out for the select board meeting, there was a misprint in the agenda where this was a liquor license renewal, not a hearing for a liquor license. And I'm only speaking because I feel that it seems like this has turned into a hearing for the past 3 meetings, in that public comment has been taken on the agenda item to renew a liquor license. And that public comment was actually acted upon, which only in my opinion denotes a hearing. Where if people come up and make comments, and as far as people's comments, they're all unsubstantiated. When people talk about somebody got some drinks without a meal, there's no evidence of that. There's no evidence of any violations with the liquor license or with the to-go licenses. The cost of a cocktail to go has to go with the meal. It's not something that people are going to use to get drunk on. They're going to go down to the store. There's probably more alcohol going onto the beach in coolers that we don't monitor than from this license. So I don't believe that the select board's agenda should be something that's gonna have a negative impact on a business that does benefit the town of Kennebunkport. Let the ordinance violations go through as their process. If there are ordinance violations, that's separate from the renewal of the liquor license. You don't have a history of ordinance violations from what I understand either. This is the first time, just because we posted it as a hearing and we allowed public comment, and a lot of people were concerned. And many of those concerns at the last meeting, when they heard that they would possibly have the Tides lose their liquor license, several of the people with their concerns saying, well, my concerns aren't that. I don't want the Tides to lose their liquor license. I just want these items looked at. And the board's done their duties. You have definitely done your due diligence. You don't have the easiest job to do because you have to balance everybody. But you've done your due diligence. You have brought to light the possible ordinance violations, because as far as I know, these can't stick, because there is time to appeal them. And there's time for the Tides to go back through the records and dispute if everything that was found is accurate. So to make a decision based off preliminary ordinance violations, based off what Galen has found, and I'm sure the research is accurate, but there is a time that the Tides can look into those and validate them on their side. So if you use that to base your vote to deny a liquor license, I don't know how accurate that would be. My thoughts are the vote tonight is to renew a liquor license, and we need to separate the issues. The liquor license renewal, the to-go cocktails are part of the liquor license now. That was a ordinance, or a law crafted by the governor of the state of Maine. There are a lot of concerns about how that would be handled with the to-go liquor, with people abusing the policy. It's obvious that statewide there was not a problem with the to-go liquor license because the governor made it law, put it in the license. It was so successful, and that's echoed in the Kennebunkports, because we don't have any reports of violations for liquor license to go. So I'm not comfortable publicly speaking. All I wanted to get out is try to separate the issue. Look at the liquor license renewal as it should have been done on the first meeting, as strictly a liquor license renewal. Handle the ordinance violations as they should be also.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more comments from the public?
Fred Stafford, 892 Kings Highway. I'd just like to correct the previous speaker. I provided Galen today with 3 clips from Instagram posts by the Tides that talk about enjoying drinks on the beach. So while no one may have made a formal complaint about it, the Tides itself, through its own publications, has promoted drinking on the beach. So it's not like it has never, there, and I assume that would be a violation.
Thank you.
I also would like, Deanie Coffin from 4 Sandpoint Road, I just want to clarify so that you understand that this is a secondary, the to-go license is a secondary license. And specifically on the application, it asks you, if the person that's the applicant, it asked the Tides if they wanted to put in for the secondary license, and they answered yes. So you can opt out. I spoke with the one of the commissioners in Augusta, and I also spoke to the organization, Bablo, and they specifically said it's a secondary license. You do not have to apply for it.
All right, thank you. Go ahead.
Does somebody want to bring him up?
Yeah, my name is Brendan Donovan. I live on Kings Highway. Just like to point out that the application that was submitted March 20th, 25, a copy of which I handed out, does not indicate that the ownership of the tides is owned by an investment group led by EOS Investors Limited. And nowhere does EOS Investors Limited appear in the liquor license renewal. So don't you want to know who you're issuing a renewal to? And if it's a new ownership, don't you want to go through the process, whatever that may be, to make them one and the same? That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank-
You need, you'll have to come up to the mic, Emily.
For sake of public record, Emily Nelson, General Manager. Mr. Donovan, it's located right here, corporate supplemental form, corporate updated information. It's provided as part of the backup for the application, sir.
And it is also in the list of names and addresses of part ownership, so it is there. Thank you for that concern.
And that was also an issue that was brought up originally when all the KRC licenses were brought up on the 8th. And we tabled those, we didn't table them, they actually withdrew them and had to do with the state's portal system, but they did make the corrections. And I'm assuming that it's also corrected in the tides.
Okay. Is there any other public comment? Is there anybody on Zoom?
So far, no hands raised.
No hands raised. Any more discussion with the board?
Yeah, so I think we just wanted to make one clarification before we get into the motion. So I think some of this discussion tonight went towards the liquor to-go license, but
My fault, my bad, I apologize.
John's owning up to it. But besides the point, don't take it so hard. I think what a salient point is that's being missed is that when we reviewed the notice of violation, you know, in terms of the statements, there is issues in terms of some of the footprint gains. So it's not just this discussion tonight, and in terms of my view of what I've read from what the code officer has submitted to the board, it is just not the to-go part of the license. So I just wanted to be very clear about that when I'm thinking right now about what we've read and heard, it's not just that one point. And so would you want more discussion, or do you want to?
Yeah, and I think to your point that the current renewal identifies the front yard and the porch as areas for service of alcohol. And I believe, from what I understand, that front yard was not previously part. To me, it's a clear expansion of use, so that's where I sit.
So,
Well, I'm going to make just a counterpoint in that I think that this has been going on for a long time. I think this was, to Mr. Smith's comment, that this was done as a public hearing by accident by the town and probably by the Tides, and trying to be transparent, clicked the wrong button. It has taken, we have tabled it once, we've tabled it twice. This is about a liquor license, and if the to-go portion had not been checked, this would not be an issue. We have allowed their liquor license to expire because of our inaction. The state has issued them a temporary license till July 9th, so they can still serve liquor till then. And today, I guess, in the terms of liquor, is last call, because we have to make a decision by the 20th, tonight, or it is deemed approved by the state of Maine, because the board chooses not to make a decision. I think tonight we're going to make a decision. I just think it comes back to the liquor license, to the point that there is lots of public comment. We have heard it. We have listened to it. Galen has gone off and found some other issues that are very detailed. I have read them. I might have more questions about it. How does some of these violations apply to other establishments in town? With regards to parking and all that. But I'm just not, to Sean Smith's comments, the Tide still has 30 days in which to respond to these potential violations or whatever, but we are in that window. Denying a business the ability to continue their business with no violations of the liquor license is not, in my opinion, the best practice for the town to send to a business that has not, basically has done fine things. I've heard from all the people down there, they don't want the liquor license actually revoked. They're a great neighbor. I don't know if this is what you really do to a good neighbor. I found it interesting that the town's newspaper today talks about how the Tides is allowing their property to be used for the town to rent handicap wheelchairs for the beach. Is that an expansion of a commercial use? Are they going to get accused of letting the town put their wheelchairs there for handicapped people and charge rent on them, but the Tides is actually going to host that for us? So I don't think that the Tides is really, I think some of these violations, potential violations, need to be explored more. They still have 30 days to respond, and denying them a liquor license, to me, is not the right thing to do right now.
So I feel slightly, so if I can address some of that. And David, I appreciate those comments and your view, and I think it's a good discussion across the board to have views and discussions like this, and again, to hear from the public, and thank you for attending. Part of what I'm hearing is, from my perspective, I swore an oath to uphold ordinances and the Constitution when we joined the board. I am bounded by the ordinances from this specifically land use ordinance from 1972. And I believe when I read the report that Galen put into place, that brought us back to that non-conforming business from 1972 ordinance. The other side of during this journey from 1972 to now is the fact that we are also bounded by the beach use agreement, which also the town has worked very hard and to get us to a balance on the beach. So in 1972, the town at that time voted for this land use ordinance in the beach area to become residential. That puts certain restrictions, of which the code enforcement officer has gone through a due diligence process to put that in place. I've listened to people speak on both sides, but to me, the weight of, while that's good information, the weight in front of me that I'm basing this on is the fact that I have to uphold ordinances, which include the land use and the beach use agreement, and I've heard from an official report from Galen, from the code enforcement officer, that there are a number of violations that then, per the state law for hearings for liquor license, I would not approve this. So I actually would make a motion at this point to deny town, the Tides Inn, this liquor license, noting that we have been giving notices of violation, also noting that the Tides has a temporary license issued by the state, and as David has pointed out, that there is a process for violation, which the Tides has 30 days to get into compliance or to appeal. So there is a process that we will now walk through with the Tides. And during that time, the Tides is still operating until official ruling can be made. And so I feel that we are not hampering the business, and I personally am not going to take on the ownership that I am defaming, degrading, not being nice to a business. I did not take that as an oath. I took it as an oath to actually uphold the ordinances by. Now, we can sit here as a board and put a new ordinance together and take it to town vote. That's a different option. But right now, I cannot redo that ordinance that's been voted on in 1972. I'm bounded by it. So I make that motion to deny the Tides this liquor license and let this process continue.
I have a first.
I will second that.
I have a second. Any more discussion on this? Go ahead.
I do appreciate your wanting to uphold the ordinance violations. but it's like getting pulled over by a police officer for speeding. When you get pulled over by a police officer for speeding, that police officer can use their discretion. If you have no previous history of speeding, he does not necessarily have to give you a ticket. He can give you a warning.
That's correct.
The Tides is being given warnings right now. They've been issued some severe warnings that are still have time to be looked at and reviewed by the Tides to make sure the information is accurate. I'm not saying that you're not upholding the ruling. You're doing your due diligence. I just trying to make you understand that you have discretion in these. It doesn't say if there's an ordinance violation, you must deny the license.
And I completely understand that.
Okay.
And what I've looked at and what I've read through is
Yeah.
that there are significant violations that have been put forward. So I am
Correct. But
using
they're
that,
all
and I have discretion.
unrelated,
No,
right?
no, they're
Yeah.
not
And they're all-
unrelated.
And they're all alleged at this point, correct? They haven't been enforced?
They are the code enforcement office has noticed a violation.
Right.
The Tides has 30 days to come back and to get into compliance or appeal.
Yeah.
So in terms of a board member, I am yielding to the code enforcement office, who has done their due diligence, has looked at data, and
Yeah.
put together this thing for enforcement. They are doing an enforcement right now. This is not we think this happened. The code enforcement office is doing a notice of violation, and now that process starts. So I completely understand
Yeah,
what you're
but
saying,
there's
Mr.
an
Smith.
appeal to
But
it, right?
I also want you to understand,
Yeah.
I am using my discretion right now. I
Okay.
know I can go up or down, but if I was caught speeding 5 or 6 times on one road, that would weigh into the officer's decision. So when I have a violation in front of me that is significant in violation, that is also that the town has been in discussions in previous issues,
Which is important.
which is
to say.
extremely important. This is not our first time to the rodeo here. So I'm weighing all that in line with the importance of knowing that there is a very good process that we will now go through with the Tides that will shore this up, and then we will see where this comes out on the other end. And they do have a temporary license. They are operating it as it is right today. They have not stopped serving, and so that is, it's all moving forward. And so now I think the board is, get to a vote, and then we'll let this process ensue.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rob Wengel, Kings Highway. Thank you for the report, Galen. I have 2 questions. The first one is, how many of those violations that you're indicating are new since the last time the liquor license was approved for the Tides? How much of this is new news and new violations?
So I believe all those violations that I cited are new violations that previous code officers did not issue a notice of violation. This is the first notice of violation.
But have any of them occurred in the past year since the last, or are they, most of them, things that have been in place for before the last liquor license was approved by the select board?
So when we look at a violation, we look at what's happening at present. And so what's on the ground right now is what's submitted to the board at this time.
So it's possible that all these violations have been in place for 10 years, and this is the first time that it's being leveraged against the liquor license.
That's irrelevant. It really is. This is something that was brought to our attention, and we're trying to act on it. That's all it is. And we've listened to everything and everybody about this, and believe me, nobody takes this lightly. I'm telling you right now, and nobody has anything against the Tides Inn.
Right.
And I just want to make that perfectly clear. We're doing the best we can, and as Mary Beth said, we've taken an oath, and we're going to live by it. I'm sorry that you don't believe that way, but I can't do anything about that.
I'm not sure that's what
sorry.
I said. I don't think that's fair.
So,
That's not what I said. I don't think that's fair. I guess I think the gentleman made a lot of comments I won't repeat because I agree with most of them. But you do have discretion to separate these 2 issues and deal with any code violations by themselves and allow the liquor license to be decided as a liquor license. The thing that in all the meetings I've now participated in, I'm still not clear about is what problem are we solving by not renewing the liquor license? are there? Is there rowdiness? Is there disorderly conduct? Is there drunken behavior on the beach? I'm still, in all the conversations, I've heard a lot of discussion about conformance and non-conformance and violating things, but I've not heard anything that directly says because the Tides has a liquor license, there's a problem that's been created at the beach.
So, can I say this? So, say if tomorrow or tonight, the Tides typed up a liquor license that met this, that brought them into conformance, then that liquor license would most likely be approved by the board, because it then represents going back or going into conformance from these violations. So I think that's part of the issue that I'm having in terms of how to respond, because I've said this at a previous meeting. The front porch, the front yard, that's out of violation, in my opinion. And then I've read the ordinance, I've read the findings of violation, and it is in here. So it is not about a liquor license. It is, to me, about getting back away from these violations and getting back into a conformance of what that footprint should be and where they should and should not be serving. It's not so much about we're denying them liquor. I care about liquor at this point. I care about getting back into conformance. That is the oath that we swore upon. It is the law. It was voted on again, I'll say it again, in 1972 by the town. The select board does not have the ability to change ordinances. We have the ability to make suggestions and put things out to the voting, but we do not have that ability. That is not, and I understand discretion when you're talking about, well, the discretion of, but I feel like that ship has sailed. I'm not about that. I'm about what's in front of us right now. And I think
I still would suggest that you can separate the two, and that we've intermingled to leverage the liquor license against the other issues, as opposed to addressing the other issues head-on. It feels like we're leveraging a liquor license over a business.
But what does separating the liquor license do? Because we are addressing it head-on, because they have 30 days to come back, and then there's this process, and
But
they
you're
do.
leveraging a liquor license, you're not saying, in fact, most of the community is saying they want the Tides to have a liquor license.
But again, then we would have to go to the ballot and have an ordinance change to allow it to be what their liquor license is today. So either they go back tomorrow and rewrite their liquor license to fall into the guidelines of where the town believes it should be served, and then, hey, check, you got your license. That's an easy peasy one. But if we're waiting now, the Tides has been served. Now we are waiting for them. We are following the process. They have 30 days to get back, or they have an option to appeal. We are waiting for which way this is going to go, noting, as we have said, the Tides has the ability to serve people today because the state has an ability to give this temporary license as municipalities work with businesses through issues exactly like this. I feel that we are all working good together, and I'm not holding a liquor license over the Tides. I'm holding violations that would then bring us back into our ordinance. It's
I
as easy as that.
appreciate it. I don't think any of the other liquor licenses that came up for renewal were put under this scrutiny.
They weren't non-conforming. They weren't non-conforming uses. This is, again, you have a business that's operating in a 1972 ordinance of a residential zone. And then according to that, there's laws in terms of what can or can't happen is in terms of footprint expansion. And then we also have a business use, we have a beach use agreement that they're also, as noted in this, that they're in violation of. These are serious things in terms of our town ordinances. This board takes our town ordinances very easily. If people come up and say, we want a different ordinance for that, that's fine. Then we should go and put that on the ballot and let the public decide. We are just implementing what the public has asked us to implement.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
I want to make one comment. This has now been said twice or 3 times. The board doesn't, I think you all get the sense that this board is not going to agree tonight on how this is going to be voted on. But I want it to be perfectly clear. I took an oath also.
Yes,
And
you
if
did.
I vote against the way you're going to vote, it is not a violation of my oath or my duty to the town of Kennebunkport or to my duty to the state of Maine's laws. So I just want that perfectly clear, because it's now been said to me 3 times that I am responsible for holding an oath, which kind of leads me to believe if I don't vote a certain way, I am abandoning my oath. I just want that stated. That's how I feel, and that's how I felt for a couple weeks.
Yep. Well,
So I am now making it public that I don't believe that I have to vote, as it says, may be denied. So by my maybe not voting the way other people want me to vote, I am upholding my oath and my discretion to make this decision. So I
So-
just want that
so
part of the
David,
record.
I
I'm
just-
not getting into an
Hold it.
argument
Wait,
over
just a
it.
second.
I just want to go
I'm
on
not
record
getting
and
into an
apologize.
argument over it. I just wanted that as part of the statement, because 3 people have now told me that.
So I just want to apologize, David, that if my comments inferred that, by no means
They
would
weren't
I-
just yours, Mary Beth.
Okay, from my perspective, I couched my comments as my interpretation, and so I want to apologize. In no way do I infer on how the board votes tonight. If somebody votes one way or another, that they are now upholding their oath.
Your apologies accepted, but I just want it to be noted, I uphold my oath and take it seriously too, so.
So everybody has a right to vote the way they see fit. It's as simple as that. Emily?
Hello again. Hi. I'd like to address Mr. Wingel's question here to Galen and kind of clarifying the timing of some of these violations. It wasn't necessarily clearly stated, but I'd like to provide, as I have the details, right? So a lot of the violations that are being presented are from renovation and from acquisition of the property in 2011. So to Mr. Wingel's point, these are all ways that we've been operating. It's the way the property has existed for the last, 14 years, right? And just now they're coming to the table as a notice of violation, seemingly to make this a reason for denial. So I'd just like to put that out for public record, that these are not new operations. This isn't within the last year of liquor license renewal from last year. And I'd also like to question, we've submitted the same diagram for where we've served liquor for the last 4 or 5 years since we had a change in ownership in 2020. So my question is why now is this being contested if we have always kind of put forward in that diagram that we've served on the front lawn and on the front porch? Is it now because, well, actually, I'm sorry, I'll ask.
So I think we've noticed in previous meetings, we've been in discussion with the Tides over the past several years, and we have tried to work in good faith with the Tides, knowing, again, what our ordinances are. So we have tried to find, until we've got here, we have tried to find some way to get this in line. And we have been unsuccessful to this point.
To my
And so I
knowledge-
think that is the answer.
Am I incorrect that the front lawn and the front porch service has not been discussed previously? I'm not aware of that. I have the letter.
It has not been discussed as a
Correct.
violation. That
Correct.
is a true statement.
So it's-
Yes,
has
so,
not
so
been
my
dis-
question would be, why are we denying now a liquor license as expansion of use on the front lawn and front porch when we have come to the table, we've had meetings, I have an email here and a letter here from Lori Smith dated July 31st as part of the NOV documentation. We've had a very productive meeting. We wanted to continue to do so. So I'm
Right.
curious
So
why
I think in
this has now
terms-
been escalated to this level with this reasoning in front of this group of people without real backup.
Well, because I think, from my perspective, having been in those discussions with the person that was in your position formerly and the rest of the EOS, I think we did try to work and find some, but there was no real give to the level that the town needed. And so specifically, I know I had stated in those meetings about the front porch and the front lawn. And so those things were brought up. So Emily, I look forward to the Tides response to this violation. And I hope that we can work through this quickly. And so, again, I'm not sure what else to say.
Thank you, Emily.
Sure.
I think the town manager has something that she wants to say. Laura, are you there?
Hold on one second.
Yeah. Is Lori?
Yes, I was just confirming, based on the motion, that I understood that the motion was in reference to Title 28A, Section 653 on the findings, and that you're finding within your discretion that there is non-compliance of the licensed premises with any local zoning or land use ordinance.
Yes,
So noted, yeah.
so noted.
Okay, Laurie?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure that was part of the motion.
Hi,
Okay,
Joe O'Connor,
thanks, Laurie.
School Street.
Beg your pardon?
Joe O'Connor, School Street, Kennebunkport, 04046. I just want to say that I'm all pro-business, and I'd like to see the Tides, the beloved Tides, get this. And I understand there is an untangling, and I also understand that there are violations that they recently have been told about. So do I understand this right, Mary? Should they come into compliance, to the best of what you're understanding, they could reapply? You have a July 9th, you could reapply and then get a liquor license, or is this off the table? I want to know the timing of this. In other words, if you were to deny tonight, but they have the 30 days and they're in compliance with XYZ PDQ, is there another?
Oh, absolutely.
There is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
absolutely.
And they have 30 days from May 15th to answer the violation. So again, we don't want to put the Tides, so again, this was specifically, we're trying to bound this conversation to the liquor license, noting that the issue for potentially denying it is the notice of violation that we have. We're not, basically, we have to let the process for violation play out now, which is the Tides has 30 days to come back and give us to come into conformance, or they also have the ability to appeal. And so we will then cross that bridge when we get a response from the Tides.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have a hand raised on Zoom.
Go ahead.
Marie, you can speak. But you have to unmute yourself.
Marie Henriksen. Can you hear me?
Yes, Marie. Speak up a little bit if you would.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, there we go.
I just want it to be noted that I served liquor on the porch. You can ask most of the people at Goose Rocks if they've ever had drinks on the porch. And
Marie, did you
Yes.
do that? Did you do that before 1972?
I bought it in 1972, and it was grandfathered to be commercial.
Yes, but I don't believe there was service on the porch in 1972. Am I mistaken?
You're mistaken.
Interesting.
Thank you, Marie.
People could take their drinks onto the lawn. I had tables and chairs, a larger table out there, and always chairs. When I bought it,
72.
it had chairs on the front lawn, as well as I changed them to nicer chairs, but as one does to keep up with fashion. But there have always been chairs on the lawn, chairs on the porch. I have many pictures with them. And you can ask any of the locals at Goose Rocks Beach about their having drinks on the porch. And some would take them off the porch, particularly after I put a fence around, which was required.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Robin, did you have a comment?
Robin Phillips, Kennebunkport. I just want to thank you all for really digging in and researching this, all of you, including Galen, because the law is everything. Without ordinances that are followed, what's the point? And I think a lot of people feel like limits get pushed quite a bit in Kennebunkport, and we live with it, and I think it could be a bridge too far at this point with all the hoopla and the vans and everything else that happens down there. And so whatever way this goes, I'm sure, I hope the law will prevail. And like Mary Beth said, if we want a different situation, then we put it before the voters. But I do appreciate that this was difficult, and it's a contentious anytime we have Goose Rocks issues. But I do thank you for doing your due diligence, all of you, and we'll see what happens. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more? Nobody? Anybody on Zoom?
No more hands raised.
I have a motion to deny in a second. All in favor of the motion? All opposed? It's a 3-1 vote. Thank you all for coming. It's been an interesting and a hard night. Did you have something to say?
Yeah, I would just like to kind of note, obviously I had anticipated this decision this evening, right? No surprise here. I just want to state for the record that the tides believe should have been approved, right? We've gone over that. I've said my piece throughout multiple meetings here now publicly. Our application, as everybody has in their hand, has been submitted the exact same way for the last 5 years, and just now here in 2025, it's being contested, right? At all 3 of the Tides prior liquor license hearings, the property had received no complaints from code enforcement about health, safety, disturbance of peace, and as such, our eligibility for liquor license was uncontested and should have been issued at each of those meetings, dating back to April 10th. However, it's now become apparent that the reason for the delay was a plan to issue a notice of violation as a pretext to create a legal reason to deny the renewal of the liquor license. Very evident, very clear at this point. The Select Board used this liquor license renewal as an opportunity to escalate a separate issue created by a handful of vocal Goose Rocks homeowners, a group who has always sought to injure the Tides business over the last 30 years. Surprisingly, they're not here tonight. I'm not sure why, regardless of the ownership, right? The timing of this denial and the notice of violation we received mid-May immediately before season is obviously designed to hurt the business of the Tides Beach Club. If the town has acted in good faith, it would have reached out to the Tides over the last 6 months to try to resolve these issues. As noted in exhibits to the NOV itself and a letter from the town manager, as I noted earlier, the town and the Tides had a series of productive meetings last year that resulted in an agreement and operational changes. Instead, this NOV was issued without outreach or discussion, without any opportunity for the Tides to provide information or respond to the allegations. And now it's a reason for denial. The Tides Beach Club was instead actively working to set up another meeting with town officials, which has been now ignored because this was kind of, let's say, laid up. Upon request from the town to meet in early June and continue ongoing conversations, as we've previously agreed to, annual check-in meetings to review operations and make any necessary amendments to meet our mutual goals. We will absolutely appeal this decision. Thank you.
So I appreciate that, but I have to speak on behalf of some of the residents, because I actually am slightly disappointed by some of the tone, especially when you're directing it at our residents. It's just not a handful of some vocal residents. There's a lot of residents. I actually live down on the east end of the beach, and there's an awful lot of residents that are very quiet, but also have a great love with the beach, the way the ordinance was put in place to be residential, to be a family beach. And I can honestly say, looking you directly in the eyes, I have worked very hard, as well as Mr. Dykstra and Lori, with EOS, trying very hard over the last 2 years, many meetings, to get some buy-in. I can say right now, looking directly at you, that those were not easy meetings. We tried to bend. We tried to give kudos to them for giving us 15 feet of public space. So I just want to, make sure that as we move forward, I will be very happy to tone down my tone right now, but I would expect the same from EOS, especially when you're addressing our residents. So please take that in mind. I take our residents very serious.
Anybody, any other questions, any other comments? Hearing none. Thank you all for coming. I would consider adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
First and second, all in favor? Thank you.
Nothing to sign.
Nothing to sign.